Good afternoon. This is a really exciting day today. I have I think, a really amazing woman with me, and I'm so happy to be able to share her story and her voice, see her again, even though I see her quite often. We keep in touch and talk. I guess we could probably talk more, but we're both so busy, and what you do is pretty amazing on the East Coast, girlfriend. Sister Andrea Curley. I remember like it was yesterday when I met you, and I'm gonna guess at the year that it was 2014, maybe 15, and we were at a workshop on Six Nations at the Great Center, and I think it was Barb that organized that, and it was a group for women, connecting Haudenosaunee women, connecting to culture and their responsibilities. And I remember at the end, we were offered to share if we felt like we wanted to offer what we created while we were in that space for those 16 weeks. And in those 16 weeks, I know what resonated with me. Just even my own work that I did myself, and listening and learning. But it was something, when you spoke, you impacted me. And I walked up to you afterwards. You actually had shown the painting that you had created while you were in that space, and then you shared it like you had done this, like done that 100 times, and you were so confident in your power, and your voice as an Indigenous woman. And I was so grateful that when I walked up to you and introduced myself to you, and you sized me up and down like, who are you? You're like, huh? Hey. And then you took my card and you're like, okay. And then like a week later, you called me and you're like, I don't know why I'm calling you, but I'm calling you. And then you opened the door and welcomed me in and made me feel like I was important and that my voice was important. And to see now where you are and what you're doing, like I have tears in my eyes, Andrea, because I think you're a really amazing woman and sister, and I'm so grateful that you've guided me along this journey in my knowledge and learning about how to take up space, but also be respectful of other people on their own journey. So, yeah, well, for being here finally and coming and being a part of this, and I just really am so happy that we can do this together and share with everyone, even from your community, because a lot of people that watch are actually from Six Nations and the communities that you grew up in, and all of the work that I know that you did in your own community before you left to go do work in other communities, to now be national with the work that you do, and probably international in some of the work that you do. And so I'm so excited just to kind of catch up and like, let's hear what's up. Let's hear about you. Introduce yourself, and I'm just gonna, I'll try to prompt you along the way if we're missing something, but I'd love to just hear everything about what you're doing right now.
Okay. So yeah, I am Andrea Curley, Onondaga Beaver from Six Nations, Grand River Territory. Indian name is ONGO. Two sons, 24 and 21, both coming into their own nicely. No grandkids yet, so I'm in that sweet spot of, old enough to say I've done it, young enough to do it again, is the saying. So what happened was I was at the Six Nations Bingo Hall under DevCorp, working in promotions and marketing. I had that job for 3.5 years, and I really liked it. I really thought that, I was still helping the community. It was just on a different capacity of, bringing in that money for people to apply to the grassroots existing business, whatnot, through the advisory boards, through DevCorp. So yeah, what happened was, before I applied for that job, I had came to the Indigenous Women and Community Leadership Program that they've been offering here for 10 years at the Coady Institute, which is a wing of Department of St. Francis Xavier University out in Nova Scotia here. So I applied to that. I did that course. That's when, if the community can kind of remember, when I was doing a lot of poetry, I did a poetry event, started Skywriters. Uh, so yeah, that was during all that community work. Um, and then, working at the bingo, and then what came up was an opportunity to become a speaker, to represent a region of Canada at the United Nations in New York City in 2017. So I was invited to do that with another woman from Saskatchewan, another woman from British Columbia, and we kind of did this panel of speakers of Indigenous women at that event. And so I kind of been included with what's going on with Cody since I've been here. I think I just made an impact on people. Sometimes I'm hard to forget. Just kidding. So yeah, I was working at bingo, and when this job opportunity came up to be the coordinator, they're looking for a coordinator to plan an alumni gathering of the whole 9 years. It was like a year in planning and then 9 years of cohorts. And I was just like, wow, I got to go for this. And I applied for it. And then I start telling, my partner, my kids, hey, I applied for this job. And if I get it, I'm going to move there. And I didn't tell anybody from here that I was planning on moving here. I thought, I'm going to live by the ocean for a little while. I can leave. There's no grandkids yet. There's no whatever. My kids are old enough, to be having jobs and paying rent and whatever else, right? So end up getting the job and doing the move. I think, the most surprise was my boss at the bingo. Like, what? Okay, when? What do you need? So, and it was really easy to do the transition of leaving, because I knew I had the support. Actually told, well, we're kind of hoping it doesn't work out for you, so you come back here and come back to work, right? And so having that background or that backing of that support made it easier too. And then of course, always knowing home is home. So that's another thing. When I talk to people about where I'm from, if I get in conversations here about where I'm from and what am I doing, and you took a big risk and all this thing, and that's admirable and all these things. But at the same time, the reason why I can do that is because of the support of always having home. That's really important. So taking that job and from the bingo to here, um, I had to really weigh out and try and look at the pros and cons of what did I need inside, what was going to make me happy and fulfilling, um, a purpose, more meaningful. Um, and so when I look at everything that the Cody Institute is about, the programming, and just knowing that if I could be a piece of that, then it was worth it. The gathering happened. It was a 4-month contract. It was a 4-day event in November of 2019. We had, like, I think 87 women come from across the country as alumni. And then we had mentors coming. And so it was organizing everything from the flights to the ground travel to the lodging to the menu for the 4 days to helping with a planning committee from across the country. Mentors, elders, and alumni were all part of the planning committee before I even came here. So it was just a great opportunity to be networking and working with Indigenous women, across the country for that event. So when I got here, and it was great, everything was good. We even won an award for something about, I forget the name of it. I'd have to look it up. It's probably on our website somewhere, the Cody website, but we did win an award for it being something about best university event of the country. So yeah, it was really good. a lot of things happened. A lot of things transpired from that. The gatherings and the visiting, and just it was so inspiring, and it just amazes me how the ripple effects of everything that's happened since the deciding to be here has is like blooming. It's almost like a flower that keeps blooming, and it's not even halfway, and it just feels so amazing. So, just to carry on, after accepting the contract to do the gathering, I found a place to rent, and then I went when I knew my partner was going to be coming out, that he was going to come out here, and we were found this place to move into together. Then I told my boss, I'm like, so yeah, just to let you know, I moved here. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I rented a spot, and no obligation or nothing. Like I'm just letting you know that I'm like available. She's like, wow. And she kept me. We had a contract right after that. I done 2 contracts actually until this recent one was signed in December. So I'm now on the Cody women's team, women lead, and working under the kind of umbrella, for lack of better words right now, because it's so new, the Circle of Abundance. So now in December, then I signed a 2-year contract to work with all within that. So what does that mean? Right now, we're creating the Circle of Abundance, which came about shortly after Ryan Reynolds did his monetary donation specifically to the Indigenous program here at Cody. So the Indigenous women programming. From that, then became a fundraising campaign. So within, I would say, like the month and a half, there was like $1 million mark everybody was striving for, and we got it. And then we did like all the sponsors and donors, and we put together a virtual celebration in honor of everybody that helped us reach that goal. And so out of that then came the Circle of Abundance. So now we're looking at courses that have been offered through Cody, such as the ABCD course, which is asset-based, community-driven. Looking at, how can we look at that and indigenize it? What can we bring into it what can I bring into it from my own perspective of being at home and doing the youth programs, the family New Year's Eve programs, the excerpts of the Great Law, helping with Cry the Eagle years ago, and just so many different events that I've helped with at home. Okay, now when I look at those experiences, how can I now look at this program and kind of offer my lens on all of that? And when coming from a place of, as much as I can, or can be that connected person, thinking in terms of the thankfulness of creation and the life that we live. How do I bring thoughts of that into that, and give expertise advice through experience? How do you bring to life events, and how do you sustain them, and how do you work with people who aren't easy to work with, and how do you communicate, and how do so there's all these different perspectives that I've been able to offer in looking at that program. And I'm not teaching staff here, but I do support the programs that are coming on, like one is starting March 30th called Building Abundances in Indigenous Communities. So that's going to be a 5-week online module. And so, yeah, I've been asked to come in, sit in, and just be supportive. So there's examples that could be used by my own experience, the principles of that program, we're actually come from the gathering of some of the workshops we did within that 4-week gathering of the alumni, asking, what's important, what can we use to work together. And so from that gathering then comes like creation of 7 principles, which we use now within some of the programming of the Circle of Abundance. So an example of a principle is start with spirit. So when we start with a program, and the only thing I can think of to share with for that is a woman in Manitoba who works with birthing center, and then a woman in Nova Scotia here who works with medicine walks, and then things that I've done, back home in Ontario, when you start out with prayer and acknowledgement of the day and what's around you and thankful, and then speak your intent and ask for that help, that's as easy as it can be with starting with spirit. And those are the programming and the things that become easier and not so hard to maneuver. So that's an example of a principle of, the things and the spaces we're creating and holding within the Circle of Abundance. So there's tons of not tons, but there's different programming here at Cody. And so the reason why I really like being here, and I really am thankful to still be here, are the people I'm surrounded by. And when I think about the teaching staff, if you were to look at the Cody website, you'd see some of the programs offered are like research methods and climate change, social enterprise, and then these are the people in the Zoom staff meets, and these are the people in the staff lounge having lunch, and you know what I mean? Not everybody's back to capacity because of COVID. We're at about maybe a 40% staff filling the buildings right now. So I think we're aiming for the end of May for full staff being back. But I mean, the COVID itself here in Nova Scotia, I think as of yesterday when I was listening to the radio, there's 20 cases province-wide. So we're doing pretty good here for that. There's a picture. I don't know if you're able to share that picture I sent of Cody people. So I sent Jody a picture, and the background of the picture, I'm not sure if she's got the one, but I put a little circle around myself because I'm.
Is that the one you sent me in the back, like in Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab it right now while
Okay, so in that picture, it's a picture of a lot of people. There's students from the different courses throughout Cody. And another thing is, Cody is international. So there's people not since COVID, but since before COVID, there's students from different countries, like globally, very well known around the world. So the picture that I had sent her was a picture taken with some staff, directors, teaching staff, administration, finance, communications, and then students. Some of the people in there were also students. But the saying at the back of that picture is actually outside the campus here, and it says, in democracy, people don't sit in the social and economic bleachers. They all play the game. So that's kind of like what Cody International Institute is all about. Looking at the people within the communities being the assets. And it's not about Cody going in and teaching the people how to get along or what to do. It's about helping to realize what's already there and what you already have. They use the term low-hanging fruit, what's accessible. And so, yeah, that's just a picture of some of the people. Like I said, staff, directors, finance, communications, and then some students too. So some of the detailed stuff, I guess, would be we have about 14 women from across the country right now, all Indigenous women that are sitting on. It's really so new that we haven't even created the terms yet, but kind of like an advisory board. We're still creating that. So we've had 2 meetings, and so my responsibility within that is to um, set up the meetings, get the agenda finalized and put out, and then bring everybody together. And then we move on with whatever's going on. Do the minutes, that kind of stuff, and then support with the teaching staff here. We Cody just hired a new teaching staff. Krista, her name is. She's actually Mi'kmaq, who had moved away for a while, but she's now moving back. Tons of experience. She's going to be teaching the program I Will, Indigenous Women in Leadership. And that's basically, she's going to be teaching how cultural values um, can add and build leadership roles within women. So I'm really stoked about her program because I know a lot of it is going to be looking at cultural values specific. And I think it'll probably be, um, from what I've seen so far from her outline, I'm super stoked about it because I think as long as the women who are applying for it know, that's the kind of influence and teachings that they're going to be receiving in the program. So I'll be in there, and I'll be offering any kind of experience, and also helping with some, icebreakers, some fun kind spots of it. And if students can't make it or missing something or need something, I'll be that support to the students who come in. So I'll be doing that for her program, and then for the Building Abundance and Indigenous Communities program as well, that starts at the end of the month. Another thing is tomorrow, the 25th, I kind of am launching my own little project of opening a nationwide talking circle, Indigenous Women Talking Circle. So I know there's some people who know what that is and might not know what that is. And so if you go to the Circle of Abundance page on Facebook, you'll be able to find out a lot of the information I'm talking about there. So the talking circle is exactly what it is. You have your turn and you talk and you're done. You have your turn, you talk, you're done. There is no topic for discussion, no feedback, no. It's just a sacred space for your voice, and it is whatever you need to be heard by other people without any of that interruption of feedback or condoling or anything like that. Sometimes I believe is important because sometimes we need to be heard, and we also need to listen. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to offer, this space for that talking circle. I'm also going to be working with a group of women who are Native, non-Native, and they actually have started a group of, like, an organization called Powerhouse and Power House. Have you heard about that before? No? Yeah. So they invited me to meet and greet yesterday, and then they had a webinar talk this morning. And then I have a meeting with them after this. And I guess what we're looking at, they've already had a TV series, and they have this thing called the Fire Circle. And what's intriguing to me about that is they just started April of 2021, and they're looking towards a 9-year journey of international fire circles intentional fire circles, where leaders gather to collect wisdom needed to realize a 2030 global sustainability of goals and visions of women. And they want to focus on allowing and uplifting women, native, non-native, throughout Canada, to fill those spaces of systems, so that there are like-minded people within the systems that are often, you know little boys club, men's systems. um so looking at a lot of change in creating those spaces for that. And a lot of it is knowing, as women, as a woman, there's multitasking and hats and so much that we carry with our breath of roles and responsibilities and trials and tribulations, and a lot of it is desire. What do we desire? What do we need? What do I need as a woman that's going to help me feel fulfilled while I'm here? And when I think about that, I think about being involved in these circles of people that are here to encourage, uplift, and teach, and you know just be that person doing this for women across the country. Is right now I'm living my dream. Some people come into my office and look at me weird because I have 5 clocks over there on the wall for the different time zones. Because if I think to myself, okay, I'm gonna call Lorelai, what time is it? And I'm always like Googling what time is it in BC if it's and it's just easier to look and like, okay, I can call her then, I can call her now, or like whatever. Um, to me, that's amazing. I would have never thought I would have had a job where I needed 5 clocks to help me in my thinking and planning. Always the whiteboard. At my old job at Bingo, it was like, okay, think tank time. Come on, guys, let's go, and everything get written down. Take a picture, make the notes, blah. So I kind of still do that. Even in the pandemic, when we were sent home last March, by like April, May. By May, I was like, can I get one of the whiteboards transported to my house from work? So I find like a lot of the things throughout my whole life, whether it be, that young girl not knowing, I was actually not Tuscarora as my status card said, but sitting with Arnold General Kent, and telling me, hey, no, you're not Tuscarora, you're Onondaga, your grandma's blah, 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 I know you, blah, 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 and I was just like, what? So at a very, very young age, having that conversation, just, priceless. And looking at just everything I've ever started and finished. And that's the thing, like even a 2-year program in college, looking at like a year later, like, oh, I just, so much is happening in life. I don't know if I can finish this. And, like, why am I even bothering? Why am I killing myself trying to get this paper in when I got to go to work? The kids got to go to school. Like, it's so hard. Like, why do I even bother? But, it's always been about starting and finishing everything. And I wouldn't be able to be where I am right now if I didn't have that kind of mentality to know that sometime at some point finishing whatever I started was going to benefit me, no matter how much I would think, it's enough now, it's time to quit, why am I even doing this? And it really helped. And I guess the only thing I could say that really helped with that would have been the women in my life that were always there to, you know, whether it be a fight with a boyfriend or whatever, like, okay, so that happened. Yeah, well, get up, dust yourself off, get up. Or, embarrassment of not acting right myself or whatever, like, you know, in trouble with this or that throughout my life, and just, having those moments as a young teenager, not caring whether I reached the age of 18 or 20. I wasn't a mom until I was 23. Um, but there was, a lot of dark times before that. But even still, it was the women, in my family, and were they all pillars of lives to live? Sure, why not? They're still living, they're still breathing, like they're still here. So, um, now, in another thing that's happened is, because of signing the 2-year contract, I start thinking, like, what's what does that mean? What am I committing to? So another aspect that's happening right now is being enrolled in a master's course. So it's the Master's of Education in Policy and Administration, and that in itself is a miracle story. So in a nutshell, there was an advertisement around the building and elevators everywhere. Master of Education, women's leadership course, 2 years online, um, undergrad, or 10 years experience. And I'm like, So then I kept seeing it, kept seeing it. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to check it out. So I applied for it. I don't have an undergrad, but I do certainly have 10 years experience of programming, of, stuff. So I applied for it and I didn't hear back. And then finally I got a letter in the mail, you're accepted. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And that was like a Wednesday. So Thursday I spent telling people and phoning back home post-secondary, sending emails, whatever, like, can I get funded? What's going to happen with this? And then Friday morning, I got an email to called and said, sorry, there's been a mistake. You're not accepted into this program. And I was like, what? How's that even happen? Right? So I get the email and I send the email like, what kind of sick joke is this? You're a prestigious university, St. FX in Nova Scotia. Everybody, the world knows about you. How can somebody mess this up? Don't you know? And then I realized how much I wanted it. And I realized, you know what? I really want to be that person in that class. I wanted to be somebody that says, you know what? I got my master's. And I sent the email. And then I got an email back. Can you please schedule an appointment with the Dean of Education, the university? And I was just like, sure. Sitting there in a meeting and like, well, you know what? You don't have blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, why was I still accepted and then not accepted within like a day? He says, you know what? If you get this, give me a 9 things to get for him and give me like the rest of the week to get it, then he would look at my file again. I don't know what that meant, but so I got everything on a list within about a half an hour and sent him the file, knocking on his door. Here's a file. He's like, what is this? Well, it's everything you said you needed. I give you a week to get that together. I'm like, I know, you want it or not, So he takes it, and then about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. Hey, Andrea, this is Mr. Orr. Good news, bad news. Like, okay. So hi. I already had it in my mind, like, okay, it's not going to happen. It's understandable. You need an undergrad. Who gets into a master's without that? This is crazy. And then he says, bad news is you're not accepted in the program. The good news is 3 of us looked over your file. We've read some of your submissions, so I had to get together essays and stuff I wrote. So they wanted to see my reading style or writing style, sorry. So after looking at files or whatever, they then extended me an invite to the program I'm in now. which is a year less. The other one would have been 3 years. This one I'm in now is 2 years. And he also said that taking this course will open more doors for me when I'm done than the 3 year would have. And I'm like, hey, how can I lose? That's great. Sure, I accept your invitation. And here I am. Again, wondering sometimes, why am I back in school? But at the same time, the challenges of myself. I often think about the competition with myself. Can I do better? It's not about looking outside and who else is doing what. It's about, what can I do? What can I do that's going to help me to appreciate myself more? What am I going to be proud about myself more? Um, Looking at things like that, and I'm enjoying it so far. Very supported with my supervisor, coworkers, everybody, is completely there. I don't think I've ever worked in a place, I'd like to mention at the same time, I would say zero lateral violence, zero coworker negativity. Like, everybody just so busy with their own work and always helpful and always, you know, my son and I were having this conversation, and he had mentioned something about somebody saying to him, if you look around the room and you think, you're the smartest person in the room, you probably should leave. And I don't know what he's referring to. I can't remember right now, but we were laughing about it. I don't even know if it was just like a movie or something. But anyways, I was thinking about that and thinking about this interview today here right now. And I was thinking where I am right now. And I so by far feel like I'm so not the smartest person in the room. There's so much going on, so many directions of social innovation, of social enterprise, of thinking internationally is where we're headed. In some of the meetings, the courses that are out there are already internationally marketed. So many people apply for the programs, just to hear that the cap is 25, but there's 500 some people applied, like stuff like that. And it's just so inspiring. So in future, right now, all I'm thinking is, do what I'm asked to do, be the support. Um, and if anything, I've been asked, what do you bring to the table? What do you want to bring out? What are your passions? What do you want to do? What do you see yourself? If you had a dream board or wish for the next 2 years, what would those be? What would that look like? So here I am creating this wish list, you know, with all these resources and people around me, and I'm just kind of like, kind of in a daze sometimes. So yeah, I'm still creating that wish list, and it's just been such an amazing journey. And I think everything happens for a reason, and is everything is placed in our journey for us. And if we miss it, well, it'll come around again when it's supposed to. And I really believe that uh, I wouldn't have had such a, I guess, okay time in looking at unpacking what the um, Indian Day School Forum and what that all meant, and the timing of, not even knowing it existed, to opening up a letter saying, I'm eligible to apply. And then, what is this? And then looking at, wow, I never thought about that in a long time. I never thought about me being 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. We kind of think of, grade 7, grade 8 in high school, and then, a young adulthood out in Vancouver before babies, and then babies. And, I didn't think of those younger ages for a long time. And to be in that time of a pandemic where everything is so still, and then looking at that really, I guess, allowed me to be able to look inside even deeper, and really see where a lot of things come from that I didn't understand about myself in my younger teens, in my young adulthood life, even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is. Looking at unpacking like all of that, where's that come from and why? So I put that in, I put that in the universe. Like I need some help, so no matter how great and grand everything is, I'm always a person that needs help. And, I'm never afraid to ask for it because I believe, in building those relationships with creation so I can help. I mean, I can ask for help from the breeze or the little stick I pick up on the ground or the sun rays hitting me or, the ocean and talk to the ocean and the waves and, asking for help in different ways. And it's humbling. So all these different aspects about, the work I'm doing. And I was telling a coworker today, I said, it's hard to tell somebody about the work I do here, like what I actually do in my office every day, because it's just kind of all about that. So I kind of don't even know if I got it all in there or not.
You got it all. You got it all in there. I've been making check marks and some of the things that I wanted to ask you about. I wrote down, and we've been talking a couple of weeks about what we're going to talk about, right? And you're like so beautiful and professional right now, and I'm just like, I reflect to the conversations that we have, just candidly, getting caught up on all of the wonderful things you do, and I'm just really I'm honored that you're like, I just posted while you were talking that, it is an honor. I'm in pure gratitude to be able to interview you, who I see as one of my mentors. And in the little bit of time that we had to, share with each other, you encouraged me so much to really be everything that you said in there is to be who I am. And I'm so happy that you're in that space and circle with women and doing what you have always done. And, I'm not nearly as intimate with you as some of your other friends and family relatives that have grown up with you in the community. But I've only excuse me, seen you do community work. Like that's all I've ever known. And there's a couple of things that, you invited me into, just like it was a natural thing to invite me into. Like when you invited me to the social and I'm in there dancing and you're just like looking at everybody saying, yeah, she's new, but I brought her, you know, and to know that you were just like courageous enough then to bring someone like myself in who was discovering, is everything that you just said. And there's a couple of things that I had, while you were talking, just kind of pulled up because I think it's really important just to share some of the resources you were talking about and mentioning, the lateral violence, like working in a space that, nobody abuses you or looks down at you or has jealousy. And we just had a conversation, Renee, grandmother Renee and I, about jealousy. And that, that's an energy that everybody feels. I don't know, for all you people out there, okay, that feel jealousy when somebody else that you care about or don't care about, that energy is so blatant, right? So it's time to just like move aside that, because when it's present, and it's felt. And the hats, the many hats, those are conversations, they're hard to have. But when people are telling you that, you're too much, you're do too much, or I'm in my space and I'm just being active, I'm in action, that's you're in action every day to do better, be better, support people around you. It's just an honor to hear all the stuff you're doing. I'm excited to for the circle of abundance that you're starting. You gave me a lot of things to think about for myself. And I like looking at this Indigenous Women in Leadership program that you shared with me. And I'm actually going to just kind of share this screen because it was, I think it's important for any of the Indigenous young women that, and not even a young woman, any woman that's interested in just being in community. This is a virtual program that starts, I think applications start like in May, or the applications are now. Just a second, I'm going to share the screen, but go ahead.
Yeah, so right now my job title is Indigenous Engagement Coordinator. Um, so yeah, if anybody's wondering, has any questions, there are emails on there, people that can answer. But by all means, if you want to talk to me yourself, you can always Facebook me or email me, and I can help you out any way I can with learning about the programs that are offered.
Yeah, and so this one right here, I'm loving it. Like I want to hit that box, click to apply, because it's just like it's just awesome. Look at this. It's like the hours and the days that you have to put in, and then like the requirements, but like just knowing that you're, build the foundations of strong leadership skills and awareness to support change, develop relational approaches to increase the social capital of communities. Like this is so important, just to where we are right now in society as women, and that we're people want to make change, but there's not really systems out there because we're in systems. Everything we do is systems. So community, it's important, right, to know how to navigate through them because it's not easy. And I know because I'm doing this right now, and it's not easy, unless like I'm very blessed that I've been able to gather probably through the mentoring of women like you, where you're just like, you have to stand in your beliefs, but you have to be connected. You have to be connected to what you know is right. And you have to work on all that ego, and you have to work on all of those things, because if you don't, and I'm believing that that's what these programs teach you when you surround yourself by these other people and programs. They teach you to look inside and make sure that you're in that space to be able to deliver this. So thank you for that. There's a question here. Is it in here? I'll just actually put this up here and you can read it. Is it an inclusive space for non-binary trans people?
Yes, that's one of the things that we're looking at expanding what the circle of abundance is. So for the first time, like when I came here, I was talking about, we need that balance as well. Like we need the balance of the male sometimes as well. We need to offer and carry and uplift our males as well, because we need that from them. We need that balance. And then we are going to be looking at some other programming too. But exactly everybody is accepted into applying for any of the programs. There's not really I'm not sure if I know I was in a meeting where they were talking about applications having specific identification boxes, check or whatever. So that's something that, that side of things, administration through this is still working on. But absolutely, of course, like everybody is accepted.
Yeah, and I guess it's how you identify. It's hard, especially these days with the conversations in society,
Yeah.
to tell someone who shows up and says, this is how I identify. So I'd like to apply for this course. I wouldn't see that anybody
Yeah.
challenge that. It'd be like, yes, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's no like discrimination of anything like that. And you know, talking about that balance, the last building was Indigenous. We called it Indigenous Asset Based Community Driven, and we did I think a 7-week program for that. And that was the first time Indigenous men were invited to come in a circle for that and apply for that. And I think we had 2, but I was so happy there was 2, because it's like, yay, that's better than none.
Yeah.
And yes, we need to focus and do a lot of women work. There's so much the foundations and space that need to be created, but there's something in the back of my mind that's always got, but our men, you know,
For sure.
like that balance. So anyways, that's kind of a little bit of argument. So we're seeing some changes, and in the circle of abundance, we'll probably see more things open up for some men along the way as well. Right now, it's basically all women teaching staff for Indigenous right now. But Ryan Reynolds, I actually wanted to take a quote from him. Um, he says, like, there's no stronger advocate for a community than those living in the community. So even though we're here in Nova Scotia and we're doing all this work and remote work, it's never about, like, Jody, I would never tell you, like, hey, you need a certain couch and rug and dishes in your home. Otherwise, this is not working, right? So it's all about, hey, Jody, what do you have in there? Oh, wow, that's great. Did you ever think about using it this way or this way? So a lot of it's the principles of practice and tools and, all of these things. So yeah, the programs that are offered are great. I would recommend anybody and everybody check them out and do them, especially now with everything being online. There's no barriers, right? And a lot of
Oh yeah.
the Indigenous programming as well is free. So we're having some difficulty with having to turn away people. Like, I'm not a person who's on a selection committee of accepting who gets accepted, who doesn't get accepted, and that would be a really hard thing. And I'm thankful I'm not on that. But there has to be a cap. There can only be so many students per class. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And yes, it is, the stuff that we're offered through the Circle of Abundance is free. So it's hard because you
And
have
so,
to have it.
yeah, so the Indigenous women in leadership, do you have to have like a status card, or do you have to show your Indigenous descent?
I'm not sure about right now how it goes, but when I applied for it, I had to give a copy of my status card and also have a letter by my chief. So Ava was chief at the time, and that was easy because it was like, hey, Ava, I'm applying for this, and I need a letter of support that I'm doing this and you support it. And so yeah, that's all I needed when I applied. So I'm not sure exactly of the whole process right now. I guess I should have known everything because I'm like, there's the website, go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll look into that too, because it's something, it's just important to know, especially with our Indigenous community in Halton. You talk about that, just being present and living in the community. And that's pretty much what we've been saying for quite some time in the area that we live in. Like we really need the space to be able to figure out what it is we need before you start thinking we need agencies or services. And that was one of the things I think that really triggered me several years ago or a while ago when a community member was like, well, we have extra funding, maybe we can offer some subsidy to Indigenous people. And I'm like, that's not all Indigenous people need subsidy, right? And I know that it's not a reality and it's not nothing really nice to talk about. But that's the truth, is that we just want culture. Like, give us the space so that we can create our space for each other and come together. But there's just so many barriers. And I think programs like that Cody offers for women are leaders, right? And then holding the men's space, I get you. Like, we are all, everything that we're doing right now in Halton and Grandmother's Voice is totally inclusive of the men, because they've been holding space for years for us, right? Decades, centuries. The way I look at it is they've sacrificed themselves to hold space for us, and now it's time. And you and I have had these fun, candid conversations where I think one of the I used this quote when I was posting that I was interviewing you, where the time when you and I were sitting after, I think it was the social, and I'm like telling you all about my stories. And I'm like, hey, I finally have somebody I can talk to, and I'm like spewing everything. And I'm like, I'm like, I think I'm crazy. I'm crazy. And you're like, no, you're not crazy. Stop saying you're crazy. You're not crazy. That's the ancestors guiding you. And I was like, what? oh my God, the ancestors are guiding me. Like what, and you said that to me and it stuck with me. And I say that all the time now. And it was the most beautiful thing that anyone had ever said to me because it made sense and it empowered me to inspire me to continue to tap into those messages that I hear. So you are an inspiration, Andrea. And and I'm so glad that I talked you into coming. I think I got you at a vulnerable time where I was like, hey, come on, please. Like I see people comment and they love you and miss you. And I do, you know, or just spur the moments jumping in the car and saying, hey, I'm in town. Like, let's do something. Right. So I'm really grateful. And maybe it's not the last time. Maybe we'll connect back and maybe we can, get some people joining your circles, and I'll continue to share all that information. And thank you for showing up here and sharing all of the amazing things that you're doing, because you really are awesome. You're the woman. Oh, hey, I wanted to know actually the pow her. That's what I want to know. That's a good one, eh? The
Yes.
pow her house. I love it. How do they spell that? What's that? Like, let's.
Yeah, it's POW and then capital HER and then house.
I love it.
Yeah. So they had
Is it like a .com or something? Can people just like check it out or what?
I believe so.
I'm just gonna put powerhouse. Yeah. Let's just see.
I had the link sent to me yesterday, and then they had a webinar today. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm going to be has kind of voluntold some time because they want to work with the Cody, like the Indigenous women here at Cody, and so my supervisor had said, hey, this has come up. They're going to be doing a virtual event. We think this is something you might be interested in, so we want to introduce you and let us know what you
post it. I'm going to put the link up here just for people to check it out. It looks like a cool website.
Yeah, so I'm going to start working with them. Actually started yesterday. So it'll be a little bit of time of my contract will be with them as well. And that is a whole nother national realm of what's going on.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to check this out too.
My supervisor had talked to me about looking at, podcasts and videos and stuff like that. But right now with the program starting and all this stuff, like it's just probably on the back burner for now for Cody, but always looking for innovative ways to engage, alumni, recruiting, whatever else.
Of course. And make sure if you guys ever come to the GTA to do any of your, when we're out of COVID, keep in mind our space. We got lots of space at our urban center in Milton where we're opening our center there. So I'd love to see you come home.
Well, that might be something that we're looking at, and when I can start traveling again too, might be looking at implementing regional, facilitations.
Yes.
I know in the past they've reached out to Enoch, Alberta, and we've had those girls come to the gathering. So we will be looking at national, like regional, at some point. And how I play in that, I'm not sure. I do know that before COVID, we had a woman from the Philippines and a woman from Mexico. And we hung out, the three of us hung out, and it was they're just like lifelong friends now. They were so funny and so cool. And we just clicked and we just got along. And for me, I've never had a desire to go across any waters. I can't imagine, going somewhere to like Cancun or a beach or something like, Turkey Point was fine. At this, fine. The coast, the West Coast, the East Coast is fine. I've never had a desire to go anywhere. And I think of spiders, like big, ugly spiders in other countries are going to get me. And so, but you know what? Now that I'm older, and if there's purpose, a meaningful purpose in work, to be getting employed and paid for, and all these things count. who knows if there's something in the future with me to be that person, Indigenous woman representing, everybody, then why not? Maybe that's something in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah, girl. Prime Minister. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, girl. I love you.
It's been
And yeah, we'll stay in touch. And you can go back and watch this and see all the comments that people have put on. But we'll keep this on for a couple of weeks for people to get caught up, and they can visit that on our Grandmother's Voice Facebook and then also YouTube. And then don't forget Grandmother's Voice when you are coming to town to do those programming, because we're going to be set up. We have a really nice group of women that would love to do some work with you and your programs that you guys offer. So I'll share some more of those. Yeah, right? I love that. I love that. I love you.
okay. Awesome.
For
I love
sharing.
you too.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.